Hey Spuddies, Potato McWhiskey here, and welcome back to Ara History Untold. And we're coming back for the version 2 update. This is a sponsored video. I want to thank you, Stardock and Oxide Games, for sponsoring this video. There will be a link in the description of the video and in the pinned comment if you want to go check out the update yourself. And I do want to stress that this is an update to the game, not a DLC. So if you already own the game, you don't need to pay any more money. You got it. And the other thing is, probably now's a great time to get into the game if you were holding off. So I'm going into this partially blind. I have done a test game for a couple of hours just to get re-familiar with things, and I'm familiar with some of the new mechanics, and I'm also familiar with the fact that Alexander the Great of Greece is currently my favorite leader of all of these for two main reasons. First of all, Hammer on Anvil, his unique leader ability is insane. It gives you plus 50 to all quality of life stats in your capital while you're at the city cap. We'll explain that in the game, but basically this is insanely powerful. I love it. I mean, I think this would be overpowered if it was plus 25, but plus 50 is crazy. You also get plus 4 production to non-capital cities while you're at the city cap. So this guy likes to settle cities, which is a gameplay style that I love. And then the other thing that I love with the new culture mechanic that they've implemented into the game is that they get culture from military improvements, which I love as well. Now, there is a downside, right? Your golden ages aren't as long, but I also love the early game exploration speed from adventurous. And also, if I do have to declare a war, I get a huge bonus to strength, which is a great way to kick off a war. So we're going to play Alexander the Great. We're going to play on the Duke difficulty. I'm not super familiar with it. I could probably get away with Grand Duke. I'm going to go with Duke. I haven't played the game a huge amount. Now, the default number of players for a large size map would be 12. I'm thinking we could go up to, we could play 24. I mean, what would be interesting about 24 is that the map would be a little bit more crammed and people would be more likely to get eliminated in the mid game, which would be really interesting and kind of fun to play around with. So I'm tempted to go up to more players. I have done a 36 player game on the highest difficulty. It's absolutely bonkers. So I'm going to go with 24. Otherwise, everything is pretty standard as far as I'm aware. Everything is basically on the standard stuff. I am doing a Twin Continents large size map with average settings. So let's go ahead and jump into the game, playing as Alexander the Greek, as I like to call him, the Macedonian legend. Now, by no means am I an expert at this game, but I am at least familiar with some of the gameplay mechanics. I feel like I have a pretty good level of confidence in the first age. So Act 1, Destined for Greatness. We are playing as Alexander the Greek. If you want to read any of these story events, I'm going to click through them so as not to spoil them for people who might want to play the game themselves, because like the narrative events are quite nice. They're voice acted, etc. Yeah, just go ahead and pause the video and read it yourself. Oh, okay. So this is actually a little bit of an interesting starting location for us. So we've got our city of Atheni, and you can see here it's got baseline 50 of all of the quality of life stats. When you're at 50, you get no bonuses and no penalties. And the higher that you get these bars, the better the penalties are. I believe if you get it up to like the top, I think you get a significant bonus to the associated stat, right? So happiness is production, health is growth, knowledge is science, prosperity is money, security is military, and culture is influence. Influence being the major new mechanic of the 2.0 update, I'm pretty sure. So what's interesting about this starting location is if I turn on, where is it? The yields map mode. So we're actually in a relatively low food area near our capital. You can see here, what I would consider to be high food would be anything, if you have a 4 tile, if you have a tile nearby with 4 food on it. So we're going to need to think about how do we get our hands on some food. And in fact, we've got a lot of things that we're going to want to make, sort of get a handle on. Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to talk to our great hearth here. I'm going to disable using grain, and I'm going to say it's probably a good idea for us to target having a quota of 20 feasts. And then I'm going to add jewelry. So basically, my city will try to make sure that we have 20 feasts in stockpile before it moves down the production chain to the jewelry. And the reason we want the feast is because it has this plus 25 city growth on it. A huge percentage of your city's power comes from its growth level. So you can see here, claims is how much territory the city can have, experts is how many specialists you can boost your improvements with, amenities are how many special amenities the city can consume, research is how much research the city can have, then you've got production and tax, this is how much stuff you can produce, and then this is how much money you get. It does progressively consume more food and require more quality of life, but growing cities is very important in Ara. And so that's why feasts are going to be the first thing that I want to focus on. Now we're producing 0.3 per turn, so it'll take us about 3 turns to get our first feast that we can then slot into the amenity slot here. What we could do is use wealth to get that a turn sooner, and a turn sooner means we might grow a turn sooner and slightly get a small snowball effect from that. In terms of jewelry, I'm just going to let jewelry be chill. I'm not going to insert any resources. It's just going to be something that this improvement slowly works on. Then I'm going to grab my scout here and I'm going to send them to go grab this resource cache. We want to explore in the early game to try and find resources and supplies so that we can supply our hearth over here with things like tools or amenities to try and buff up our city stats a little bit. Now the city itself is idle and I'm a big fan of opening with scout. I do think it's a reasonable choice to go for a dwelling or a scout first. I like scout first. We don't have a whole lot of wealth, but we'll make it work. So we've just unlocked technologies, and I do think that one of the first technologies you're going to want when you play the game is going to be grain storage. The grain store is very useful because it has this 15% growth bonus here and the plus 50 food, so it's really useful, in particular if you're starting in a location like this that has relatively low passive food, and you're going to want a strong source of food. So I'm going to open with grain storage. That'll give us access to grain stores, bread, and bread is great for city health and food, as well as granaries, which boost farms, and bakeries, which can be used to bake certain pastries and all this sort of stuff. Let's go to the next turn. So we collected some supplies, no tools in here, mostly food oil and sculpting materials and things like that. Let's go hunt this wolf. We might get some good resources from that. And it looks like the first feast has been crafted, so we can go ahead and put that into the city. You can see here, you watch this kind of gray bar. Once I insert the feast, it'll jump up a little bit. This number here doesn't change until the turn ends, but basically we're going to grow a lot faster. In fact, if I lock this tooltip and I head over here to this growth modifier, you can see that we're actually growing significantly faster than we would be otherwise. I'm trying to get the thing to play nice. Anyway, I'm going to take out this wealth because I don't want to burn that much wealth in the early game. I'm okay with burning a little bit. In fact, I would even be tempted to take out this wealth because we're going to need a certain amount of wealth if we want to make another scout or even settlers and things like that. So maybe crafting feasts a little bit slower is fine. Ooh, actually, we're consuming them pretty fast. We will need to insert wealth here to make sure that we're crafting more than we're consuming. So the feasts have activated and now we're growing in 7 turns, which is a pretty significant bonus. It means we reach the next tier faster and every subsequent tier faster. Okay, we picked up a little bit of food. Now, since we can move 2 tiles, we can actually rush out into the fog of war here and get a really good picture. It looks like we found the Kyrene tribe, or Kyrene tribe. They are of neutral diplomatic status, so they won't be aggressive towards our scouts. So we don't need to worry about that while we're near them. And we can look for events to make friends with them. I also have managed to find some rice. Now, rice is pretty important because it has this beautiful ability to generate grain. Grain can be used to craft a variety of really useful early game items, including feasts, including grain stores, all that wonderful stuff. Okay, let's grab that resource cache as planned. And we have a claim generated. I think if I were to claim a tile, Thea here would be ideal because it would get us a step closer to getting the rice over here. And this rice feels like the right thing to head for. So I'm going to grab Pathia here. Be a great farming zone. And you can see now we have claimed this chunk of land. My unit over here is idle. I'm going to continue to explore along the coastline because that's just what feels right to me. And it looks like we found a sort of defended inlet with some impassable terrain here, which is kind of an interesting situation. Let's get this scout to head back this way. And now my city is idle, so it's finished its next scout. I do really like an early workshop, but I think this zone here is way better being used as a farm. So I'll get a farm down here first. And with this scout, we're going to hit the northern direction, which is where the snow is. So we're going to expect relatively low food, but lots and lots of wood and potentially a decent amount of gold. Each biome has a different sort of amount of stuff that it produces. I'm going to turn off the yield map mode because it is not completely necessary to have it open all the time. Okay, let's go ahead and grab this resource cache. You have found more wolves. Keep scouting along the coast, and we shall go to the next turn. More feasts are coming in, which is excellent. We did find some copper. Copper can be extremely useful. Let's keep exploring. Okay, we got a cache of timber. No tools yet, sadly. There we go. This is what we were looking for. We got a bunch of caches, equipment and supplies. Wonderful. And we even found some down here. Awesome, brilliant. So we found some wealth and some precious stones. Not what we were hoping for, but that's fine. We have access to grain storage now, so we could build our grain stores, breads, granaries, all that sort of stuff. The next one that I like to pick up is actually archery. I like to have archers to defend my cities. So let's go ahead and pick up archery. This is going to give us access to watchtowers and hunting camps, as well as giving us a small boost to prestige. Prestige will matter later on in the game. Right now, it's not very important. It will matter because if you are forgettable, you will be lost at the end of the age. So this is a hostile tribe. You can see that kind of the crossed swords is your warning. So let's go ahead and retreat to the west. We'll try and slip away from them. You see the way they stepped into our tile to attack us. And now I'm going to go ahead and scout back up the way that I came. We have access to a paragon. And of the abilities that I'm seeing right here, +5 research per turn is probably the best one. The military advisor 50% build production is also really strong. 10% build production is really useful if you're trying to build stuff. Build production is what applies to improvements being built. It's not city production. There's a few different categories of production types. But yeah, I also do like the paragon spawn chance. I think I'm going to go for the scientist here. I do, because like we nearly double our science per turn by making her our domestic advisor. And that extra science means we unlock things at a bit more of a reasonable cadence, a reasonable pace. We found the Kerkira tribe. They seem to be relatively chill as well. We finished the farm in Athenai. We want to get to our city limit if we can, so I'm going to go ahead and start recruiting settlers. I don't know if we have particularly good settlement locations right now, but I do think that we should at least get to work on that. So there's been an outbreak in the nearby tribe. We can spend 50 wealth to get 2 relationship with them. Early game, relationship is actually really good. So I'm going to go ahead and spend that money because if they join your city, they can give it a huge bump in population, meaning you grow the city faster. And similarly, the Atwima Kwanwoma tribe, I can get prestige and give them some timber and materials. I'm not using that many timber and materials right now, so I think I'm pretty okay to offer them this. We'll keep exploring. Lovely, we found some caches over here. Excellent, let's go grab that. I've got an idle unit. Okay, we have grabbed ourselves some wheels and stuff. We found a plow. Yeah, we found a plow, which is going to give a nice harvest production boost to this farm. You can see here. Normally, the farm gets a base production of 5. It's getting 12 from our city. Then it's getting a 300% modifier due to the fact that this region produces 3 base food. And then it's getting a 150% modifier because we managed to put a plow in there. Heavy plows are twice as good. So yeah, plows are useful to make your farms more effective. This thing is now producing 3.7 food per turn, which is fantastic. However, it is costing wealth and timber per turn. So it is important to keep that in mind. We've discovered more caches. We're going to be grabbing a bunch of these caches. And I feel like a nice vertical empire here could be nice, especially if we focus on the coast. We're finding more plows. We found some feasts and some clothing. We have an event here. So we could lose some happiness in our capital, which would hurt our production slightly. But we would gain a bunch of tools, baskets, and prestige. I'm going to take the tools, basket, and prestige. I think that's worth it. My personal playstyle almost always focuses on buffing up my relationships with these tribes because I value highly when the tribes join my empire, when they join in. Yeah, we're going to lose about 10% of the city's production here when the happiness dips, but it's okay. So the wheel used at our Great Hearth will give us a 50% craft production boost, meaning that our base production is a little bit higher. So let's have a look here. We now have an act goal, which is to build a palace. And if we're the first person to build it, we'll get 100 extra prestige. We found a couple of caches, getting us some basic materials and supplies and things. It's good that we're finding these things because they're going to be really useful. We have found another player over here, but I'm going to continue exploring sort of nearby myself. There's archers, great defensive unit because it can attack while fortified. And then we've got the watchtower as well as the hunting camp. I'm thinking it would be good for us to get animal husbandry, to be able to find animals. Knowing where the animals are on the map can be really useful. I could spend 50 timber to gain wealth and relationship. I'm going to take that relationship. We have plenty of timber in the storehouse, so we're not struggling for that just yet. And it looks like these guys are happy enough to start considering joining us. The Caria tribe over here. My capital city has grown enough to claim a region. I'm going to go for Zakynthos here because I want this rice to be able to make grain. We're currently the lowest ranked empire in the game, but hopefully we will be able to outcompete the AI and do a little bit better. I do have a good chunk of wealth in the bank, so I'm going to use some of that to speed up the construction of this settler. We'll get that a little bit sooner. Now, where do I want to settle? Let's go ahead and click the settlement map mode to see if the game suggests anywhere. It does suggest over here by this rice, which I don't love settling on a really useful resource like that. I actually, my personal bias says that settling on a resource is worse than settling right beside a resource. Now, if we do settle down here, there's not a lot of wood production, decent food production, but not a lot of wood. We could settle near these grains, and this would be a very strong farming town. It's also relatively far away from our capital, and it does look like one of the tribes joined us over here. This could be a great inland city too. It's like right on the edge. Oh, this is an even better farming town. Plus, it's right beside some limestone for some crafting capabilities. We could build a ceramics workshop over there. Tempting and difficult. I do like the meteorite over here to get the metal bars. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to settle towards my potential opponent here. You can kind of see the edges of the border of another player. So I think settling over here is going to be the play. And also, I think this is on a river. You can kind of see the water. Plus, this is a relatively high food area, which will help me get settlers out. So I'm going to go settle near this. Perfect. Now, the next thing that we need to build, because we're about to hit the next tier of city here, is we're going to have to build a dwelling in order to actually have city housing. And I'm going to build a dwelling in my capital city center here because you get a bonus of +2 housing if you build it in the city center. So we'll get to work on that dwelling. And you can see here, the Icaria have joined my nation, giving me 1,500 new citizens and a nice chunk of metal here. So if I come over here, you can see they basically just doubled the population of my capital city, which is a really nice accelerant along the growth path. My capital just generated yet another claim. So this claim I might want to think about a little bit more carefully. There's no resources in the ocean. We're not really adjacent to any resources. Could we grow to a particularly useful resource? I suppose if we grew down south here, we would get closer to these furs. It's not that useful. And then perhaps I'll grab a tile for its yields. Like here's a 3 food, 4 wood, 1 material, 1 gold tile. Like that's a pretty good tile because when you claim a tile, you actually get the resources on it just by owning it in the city, and then certain resources and build improvements will actually scale based on the resources of the region that you've claimed. Let's kill some wolves. I think they drop food sometimes, so we want to get a little bit of food off them. And now that the city has grown, you can see here that the city is starting to take penalties to its quality of life stats. We're going to want to get those up if we can. Another city has been settled over here in Icaria. I'm going to go ahead and immediately plug in feasts again because we want to grow. And the very first thing that I will build in this city will be a dwelling to set it up for its long-term growth goals. We also have a regular gathering hall here. I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with the other one, but I think I will take off the wealth, and we're still producing enough feasts to cover our needs, which is the goal, which is ideal. Now this city can get, I think I'm going to go for the happiness. That will give it that little bit of a production boost. Non-capital cities have very low production, at least for the average civilization. Once we get to our city cap, we'll be doing a lot better. So there's animal husbandry. We can now produce plows. We can now produce cured meats. We have access to the butcher shop, the logging camp, a whole bunch of animal types and resources, which is fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and research herbalism now. There's a few resources in there that it would be nice to be able to extract. Plus apothecaries are great for city health, which gives you growth. Looks like we found some sheep down here. There's some pigs and stuff to the north. Let's hunt these cougars near our civilization because these do block tiles. You can't actually use those tiles until you clear out these wild animals. So that's something that's worth considering. Excellent. We cleared them out. I should have the resources now for another settler, so I'm going to spend a little bit of money to finish that dwelling a turn sooner. I'm going to heal up this scout so that it can continue to hunt animals for me. You do get a small amount of resources here. Athenai is now idle, so let me go ahead and produce a settler. I will also probably gold pump that settler. And we do need to start thinking about building our defensive units for a variety of reasons. Ooh, I think I would like to grab Actian here. Getting access to this limestone would be really nice. Let's grab this resource cache. Beautiful. We claimed a new region, which is excellent. So now we're getting a very small trickle of sculpting materials. We'll need to improve it to get the really good amounts. There's herbal medicine. We have a bunch of new resources. And it looks like we do actually have some mandrake inside our territory, which is fantastic. Let's grab pottery. And because we have such a strong science game already, we don't have to skip straight to the next age. We can actually take our time and grab all the technologies in this chapter of Act 1. Each phase of the game, each act, is broken up into multiple chapters. So right now we're in ancient history. Next we'll go into the Bronze Age, then the Iron Age, and then antiquity. So there's kind of a smooth progression between the ages, and new gameplay mechanics and new buildings and resources and abilities will become available. Okay, Aphrodite has new amenity slots. I'm going to go ahead and use baskets. And what's powerful about baskets as an amenity is they give base 3 production. So it's actually a pretty significant production boost. And that's going to be useful until I can get a second growth thing to slot in here. So I can spend food to get relationship. And I love getting relationship. I think it's really valuable to get these tribes to join you. It provides a very significant boost in the early game. It is also worth it to fight them, by the way. That is a viable choice from what I remember. I can afford to rush these settlers, and I will, because I want to get to my city cap as soon as possible. Remember, I get a huge productivity boost from being at my city cap. Because I'm playing Alexander here. A bunch of resources are grabbed, so Athena is now ready. Now, we don't have the food or whatever to do certain things, but what I would really like to build would be a granary. I can't quite afford it, so instead what I will build is I'll build a farm on this tile, and we'll start getting our grain up. Okay, so we have a settler. I would like to settle somewhere near the copper and the meteorite. This could be a really nice city for both wood and materials production. It doesn't have any 3 material tiles, but it has a lot of 2 material tiles, so really good resource extraction zone. It is going to need a way to generate food, and probably that's going to be a combination of amenities and water. So what's the best tile here? I think this tile right here is really good. It's coastal. It's right beside this. Oh, there's a second meteorite over here that might push me down to this zone, actually. Yeah, I'm going to go here because that's one step closer the second meteorite. This is going to be a great metal production city. Oh, perfect. Another tribe has joined us. This tribe joined Icaria. It's fantastic. They brought a bunch of money, all sorts of wonderful stuff. Let's take out that black bear. We generated a claim in Icaria due to the tribe joining. I'm trying to zoom out and see if there's any resources nearby that I really want to pick up. I don't need that corn. We already have a source of wheat. So I'm going to grab Thera here because it's a high value tile. It has 5 plots in it. It's a 3-3-2-3 tile. Very powerful. Good for baseline resource generation. Oh, still so many caches out there for us to collect. Let's finalize this dwelling. I like to use my wealth aggressively in this game. There's pottery, so we're going to be able to build ceramic shops. Ceramic shops are really good early. Because they can translate into some extremely useful late game items, like in particular concrete. When you start to need concrete, you'll be really glad that you had built these ceramic shops early. And the fact that we have sculpting material from this limestone, and that'll get us marble or silicates, which can all be used for very important mid to late game materials. So very exciting. Let's grab fermenting. Fermenting pits are another one of those really nice buildings because they allow you to create syrup, which is used for a variety of important food recipes for growth. But also wine is very useful, both as a supply for city happiness, but also as an amenity for city happiness. And happiness is productivity. Similarly, liquor is great for city happiness. So very useful. Coming into Icaria, it might be good for us to start the ceramic shop. I'm trying to think about that if that's what we want to do. Now, the nice thing about the ceramic shop, or rather, a nice thing about the stone pit, is that the stone pits give craft production boosts to ceramic shops. So do I really want to produce pottery, or is it time for me to start recruiting military? Now I'm trying to remember. I think it's time for us to maybe start the recruitment of military in here. So I think the build is 1 spearman, 2 archers, but I'll build 1 of each for now. I know there's 2 of one and 1 of the other. I just don't remember which one it is for the sort of optimal early game defensive army that I like to use. And Delphoi, we have settled. The city is not growing because it doesn't have enough food, and this is where the feast comes in, and now it is growing. We are going to get started with by building a dwelling here. And this crafter will similarly, I don't want to make use of grain. Do I need to use the wealth accelerator? No, we are still sustainable on feasts without the wealth accelerator. So we just need to use a little bit of food for that. Perfect. You can see we've got a nice little empire building up here. I'm thinking if I could settle another city over here, I'd start to feel pretty good. That might come to us in the next age. We have met another nation. This is Howard Flory of Australia. He's wearing a very well-tailored suit considering the age that we're living in. I'm wondering if he would like to do open borders. Now, he dislikes me, but hopefully doing an open borders with him will improve his relationship with me. We'll see how he feels about that. Okay, he declined that, which is unfortunate because I think that's actually going to hurt our relationship even more. Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on if he decides to declare war. Okay, Athenai. One thing I wish is that it would tell me what I was building in the last turn, because sometimes I forget when I'm distracted or not paying full attention. We do need to open up our science screen here. I'm trying to remember where the science button is. There it is. Does bronze working give you +1 city cap? There is a tech here somewhere that gives us +1 city cap. It's not important. What is important is now that we're at our city cap, we're getting +50 to every single quality of life stat in our capital. So we're getting a 100% production bonus. We're getting a 100% city growth bonus. We're getting a 80% science bonus. We're getting 200% cash bonus. Our units are 40% stronger within the city. And we're also getting a big buff to our city influence. We'll talk about influence in a little moment here. Now, it would be nice to build the watchtower, but I do think that military units would be very useful. I'll build an archer and a spearman in here. I think getting defensive military up is useful because your military power actually affects your prestige. So you're not just encouraged in this game to build a military just as you need it. There's actually reasons to build it sort of a little bit before you need it because it actually helps your score, which can help you survive the culling. Okay, perfect. So there's wine and the fermenting pit, which is wonderful. Let's grab bronze working here. This is going to give us 5 prestige as well as a nice buff. There it is, +1 city cap. So we do want to make sure that we actually produce another settler pretty much immediately. In fact, it might be good for us to start that next turn to sort of preempt the age ending. So let's get the settler into the production queue and we'll even buff it if we can. So my capital city has generated a claim. Looking at my resources, I'm not like in deep need for any particular resource, and the city itself seems to still have pretty positive food. I don't see any particularly pressing resource tiles that I need, so it might be nice just to grab some of these like high quality 2 food, 4 production, 2 material tiles. Like just grab these good tiles to generate some baseline resources out of. These would be good locations to build wonders because they're relatively low in the number of claims they have, number of slots. Yeah, it seems like the good high value tiles are sort of to the north here. Let's grab Knossos. It's a good resource tile. It's nice and close. It could allow us to close our border with the sea over here to the left, meaning people have to violate our borders in order to walk through. So the battalion, I think I'm looking for the line. The line formation is the one that is very good defending because it gets a bonus to its fortification strength. Yeah, keep on building those archers. I would like... okay, yeah. I need to build my granaries, or at least one granary. Let's kill off these wolves because they block tiles. I keep grabbing those caches and we're exploring. All things happening. This city up here has increased in tier, which means it does have a claim. It would be good to get it a little bit more food. So I'm going to prioritize this tile here. Well, this one has a nice amount of gold on it. I'm going to prioritize this tile because it has more gold. Or sorry, more food. So they want me to gain a population of 10,000. And if I do that, I will get 150 prestige. Oh, wow. So I'm actually currently in the triumph tier. I'm doing really well. Oh, because we actually just hit that act gold. And you can see my quality of life is insane. Economic strength is strong. My regions is good. Everything else is kind of just average, but hopefully we can start to claw our way up. So now, really interesting is this new sort of cultural influence ability. Basically, you earn this influence resource, and as you earn it, you can either buy claims to expand your empire or special traits for your empire. Now, I do think there are better traits than this. So I'm tempted to either purchase a claim to expand a city a little bit quicker. Like what if I expanded Icaria a little faster, or if I expanded Atheni a little quicker, have a really strong capital. I feel like purchasing a claim for the capital is honestly like a pretty decent move. We'll get that claim next turn, but using it to expand the capital to make it bigger and stronger feels like a pretty useful thing to do. I'm going to grab Coronea because that will actually link up my empire, meaning when we build a road, it'll be all within our borders. So I can lose a metal ingot to gain some force strength and some relationship. Now remember, relationship with tribes, super valuable. So that's the thing I like to focus on when I get those sort of diplomatic events. I can't afford to rush out these settlers as much as I would like to. Also, I do have a specialist that I could make use of. Like, I could put him into the Great Hearth here, which would get us a small buff to the production and gold at this city. And those other specialist slots, I don't really have any good locations for them right now. So let's go to the next turn. We did get a new tribe. They've joined Delphoi, which is very useful because getting this city up is going to be really nice for us. Okay, excellent. We have our scout here. Go hunt a wolf. Keep grabbing those equipment caches. Keep going to the next turn. So there is bronze working. There's the city cap. We now have access to swordsmen, metal ingots, and hoplites. Hoplites are our unique unit. Pretty strong. Mostly an anti-cavalry unit. But what's strong about them is how cheap they are. You can see here the swordsman, which is the sort of the iconic Bronze Age unit, only has 8 strength, whereas the hoplite has 10. And the hoplite has lower upkeep as well. So very useful to go for hoplites. And so now that we're in a new era, if you can advance to a new era without achieving all of the previous technologies. But we didn't do that because we got a really strong science start. So now we can start working on the new technological era. And I think a good opening could be to go to Monarchy. In particular, Monarchy is really good because of the quality of life buff in the Palace, which kind of synergizes with the way that we've been playing as Alexander. So I'm tempted to go for Code of Laws and Monarchy. We generated a claim up here in Delphoi. I'm similarly tempted to grab the Adriatic Sea here so that we can build a couple of fishing boats to pump up the food in this city. So I think I will grab the Adriatic Sea zone. We did get a Paragon. This is actually, the Chief Advisor is actually really good here. +5 wealth per turn in cities with a commerce improvement. The thing is, housing, which I always build first in every city, counts as a commerce improvement. So this is just +5 gold, +5 wealth in every city, which allows me to purchase more things. So that's really going to help out. The settlers are finishing this turn anyway. I guess I can bump them slightly. So we're working on Code of Laws. Diplomacy with Howard Foley has improved. I'm wondering if he would swap this. Okay, I can't do that for another few turns. I'm wondering if maybe we could trade with him. I could give him a gift. Want some pottery? Here, have some pottery. Looks like we've also met Ethiopia here down to the south. He's a little bit more amenable to relationship, it seems. Oh, offer military aid. What's this? No. I do not want to send him some of my units. What I would rather do is to see if he's willing to do open borders. Okay, we start with open borders. I think trying to keep your relationships nice and high with people is good. So I'd like to deploy some forces. And what I want is to do a line, because the line has the fortification action strength. So now I'm pretty sure Monarchy also gives you a city cap. So I'm going to want to start building another settler for when we get to Monarchy. Yeah, it would be really nice to have a food gathering city down here. So I'm going to go ahead and settle in this spot, I think. It's a little bit far away, but I think it's close enough to still be defendable. We're definitely struggling a little bit. I wouldn't mind building my hoplites. You know what we need? We really need a couple of farms in here, though. Our food, we're lacking food, so these 4 food locations are really, really strong. If I build a couple of farms here, plus a granary, it'll really help us out. I'm going to bring my scouts back to start killing some of the creatures to the north, but I also want to check if there's maybe a good zone over here for me to settle a city. Let's go ahead and have a look at the culture screen. Yeah, I don't really like any of these traits, so I'm going to wait 7 turns for them to refresh. There is a nice shellfish over here, which can be really useful to generate certain precious metals and stuff, or precious stones rather, not metals. So I don't think I have fishing yet, so I would like to fish here, but it's not on the cards just yet. I'll start producing spearmen. We want cheap, cost-effective defensive units, and spearmen fulfill that role very clearly. And the land quality up here to the north is only okay. So brand new city, and as per usual, once you have a brand new city, make sure you run the festival thing. We don't want to be using grain for this. We also don't want to be using wealth. We are sustainable. We're getting 1.4 feasts per turn. We'll add jewelry to this as well. Now, that is actually prompting me to want to check and make sure I haven't accidentally kept using grain somewhere. Yeah, there it is. That's what I was suspecting, because the number was really, really high. But we want to just make sure we have enough feasts to keep everywhere happy. Let's put a feast in this city to get it growing. And the natural first choice that we build here is a dwelling. Tribute has been demanded. If I accept it, it'll improve our relationship. And this is a very small amount of wealth, so I don't care. If it just prevents him from declaring war on me, I consider that like a price of not having to have built a military yet. We have met another player. I think it's the Zulu? No, it's the Songhai Empire. Sorry. They're pretty neutral too. I'm wondering if they would like open borders, try to improve our relationship. Speaking of improving my relationship, talk about my beautiful wife. Mwah. Hey, honey. She blew me a kiss. Isn't that wonderful? So monarchy is now here. We're at our city cap, so we're cranking out resources. We're cranking out stuff. I think I would like to pick up sales here. I do want to build a fishing net in a couple of different cities, so I'm going to pick that up. The agreement was declined by the Songhai Empire. That's okay. And we can change government to monarchy. I think I'm going to hold off on switching. I don't know if I can. I don't know how to hold. I don't know if I can hold off. Yeah. I can just choose to do that whenever I want. So we'll hold off until we have the next city in place, this guy. And I think it would be good. Oh, there is gold over here. That's precious metals. Do we want precious stones? Or I think the precious stones might be better. Thinking I might settle near this copper deposit. Okay, where does the game reckon? I reckon this is an okay location right here. It's right between copper and gold. I can lose a spearman to gain relationship. That's perfect. We want to keep pumping up that relationship if we can. Why don't you come over here and start clearing out these animals for me? And yeah, I think things are looking really good here. 2 turns until the nation culture traits refresh. Delfoy has generated a claim. It is losing food. We still haven't started building the grain silos. We've been just, part of the problem is we hunger. We hunger for growth. I definitely think this is going to be a city that needs to rely on fishing quite a bit. So I think I'm going to grab the Adriatic Sea node here. It'll help me keep that city growing. Okay, why don't you come up? This guy shouldn't be too hard for you to kill. You got injured. This guy can only do up to 70 damage to you, so it shouldn't be too hard for you to kill him. Okay. I don't think I can delay recruiting units anymore, so let's go into the line. I'm going to recruit Archer, Spearman, Spearman, and this is the early game defensive combo that I like to use. I'm going to deploy these guys into Icaria. It'll take 4 turns. I think delaying any more would be really bad for us. Uh-oh, that's bad. They could raise us here. Get down here to defend the city. The nice thing about scouts is they can get out really quickly to defend. So I'll quickly pop out a scout because maybe I can get scouts down here to defend Walata in time. Go ahead and keep making me spearmen, please. So there's sails. We can now build triremes, which will give us naval units, salted fish, which is a pretty good growth item. Fabric, also docks. I think salted fish are produced at butcher shops. The docks is great for city production. There's also a triumph here. It's like a wonder. It lets you have a lot of ocean going stuff. We can also build weavers, which make baskets and cloth items. And more importantly, we can now do the fishing nets, which will help us sustain these low food cities up here in the north. We definitely want to build our palace, but we're missing the ceramic pots and the ropes. But I'll get to work on masonry just in case we can get to that point. And our big project right now is to build up our military. That's our big empire-wide project. We don't need code of laws as far as I'm concerned. Don't use that. Don't use that. We're totally fine using feasts. Go ahead and put the feast in here so you grow. And then as per usual, the very first thing we build is the dwelling. The reason I open up with the dwelling is because I don't have access to any land outside of the city center to build in. And so the dwelling is just a good opening move in cities, is my feeling. Plus, you can slot items into the dwelling to improve the city. I'm going to send you down to Walata as well to protect. You don't need to go now that I quick bought that guy, so you can come back up here and clean up this. We met another nation. Looks like it's the Cree. No, it's Ghana. So Ghana does not like us as much as other people have. Go to the next turn. Keep on producing archers and spearmen for me. So I'm going to go ahead and get you to fortify. So with this scout fortified in this region, now I think Walata is safe from any potential incursions from the neutral tribes. So I'm not scared anymore. Kind of dealt with that potential threat / crisis. I think the tribes are pretty forgiving. I don't know if they attack you, but I didn't want it. So if I accept this, I will declare war on Ghana and lose prestige, but I get a bunch of items. I'm going to go ahead and decline this. I don't want to go to war. So you can see now we're getting +2 for our military power. So that score is really important. This prestige number is very, very important. I'm going to fortify these guys in Icaria. So they have 51 combat strength, and in addition, because they have an archer in their army, they will actually shoot at any potential enemies nearby. I believe automatically, basically. If there's an enemy in a tile when the turn ends nearby, they will shoot. Okay, let's check what we got here. Paragon spawn chance is good. I don't know how the Paragon spawning mechanics work, but I also just don't love these choices again. I feel like there's other choices that I could be getting. So I'm just going to grab myself another claim that I can use to expand my empire. Perfect. There's the palace and the Great Pyramid of Giza. We would like to build a triumph or two if we could, but that's obviously going to be dependent on whether or not we're able to. I would also like to get sacred rites here because that would give me access to the altar, which would give me access to religion. Now my capital has generated a claim, and so we could go for these pigs up here, which I will do, and I'll grab Achaia as well, just for the sake of making that city big and strong. We're actually over the city cap, which means I forget what that does, but I don't think it's good. So let's go ahead and switch now to monarchy. And what we want is the plus 10 to quality of life stats in the city that it's built. We could go for more tax, but that would hurt us with happiness. So I'd rather go for the happiness, growth, and science. So what's nice as well is the extra stats in our capital. So we'll switch to that. I kind of forgot about that because I got distracted. Spearman and archer, please. Let's go ahead and recruit a line. Spearman, archer, spearman. This one we're going to deploy in Griffith because it's kind of forward. We want a unit that's capable of holding the city and keeping it safe. And again, the military power from that is useful. You can see we're getting +3 score per turn from our military power. So building a military is very useful from a score perspective. Let's grab the gold so we can start producing gold resources. We'll hunt the snow leopard. We'll go to the next turn. Wallata is idle. Let's grab this. I'm going to build a granary in the capital. It's long overdue. I'm going to spend the money to finish it in a single turn. Why don't you go ahead and build me a spearman? We've got a new paragon. So we have a chief advisor and a domestic advisor. One of my complaints about the screen is it would be nice if I could hover over like what this was and it would tell me like what I have. It could be good for us to get masterwork production going. So if I were to pop out here and look at, I'm trying to remember what it is, paragons. No, here it is, masterpieces. So I believe this can create books. So if we're going to get a paragon, somebody who can make books, and then ideally other stuff. So I'm going to grab myself a prophet here. They have the ability to make books plus other ones. And I am going to tell them to create a masterwork in the Great Hearth. And what this will do is basically, this effectively, I think, based on the stats, I think this is like worth 1 prestige per turn. Effectively, the way that the thing works out. But it comes every 30 turns in a chunk, which is fine and nice. In Knossos, I also want to get my granary here. I need this food, but I also need the granary because it gives city health. And it also improves the food yield of the adjacent farms, but it'll also craft the grain stores. And I'm basically just lacking grain stores right now. So in terms of the grain store, I think it is good to have 20 in stock. We are going to use grain to accelerate this production, but we don't need to use anything else. I think this level of production is fine for now. Yeah, look, my city has room for 2 more amenities and I don't have it in it right now. Spending wealth for relationship and prestige is perfect. Let's do it. Go ahead and heal. Good man yourself. Perfect. We could rush Icaria's. Well, let's not do it. So there's sacred rites, and importantly, there's the festival, which is the upgraded version of the feast. So we would like to start producing festivals. You can see here, the feast gives 3 food, 25 growth, 10 happiness. The festival gives 50 growth, 15 happiness, and 10 food. So it is straight up an upgrade. So we're going to put the festival to the top of the queue here, but it requires higher tier materials, which we don't rightly have access to at the moment. Like, we would want to be producing syrup from breweries. However, the power of gold is that it's agnostic. We can just start producing it now. So I'm going to delete this feast. We no longer produce feasts here, and instead we produce the festival because it's a better version. I'm going to get started on the wheel because it's worth 5 prestige. Let's grab that. This city is idle. Now, it would be nice to buff this festival with food. So I am tempted to build some more farms in here. Plus, farms give a small bonus to city growth. So that would be nice in of itself. It would also be nice to have a workshop or even a weaver. Like, if we got a few weavers, we could get baskets. Baskets are really good early game. Trying to think about what my empire needs right now. Do we have the grain store? We don't have our first grain store just yet. That's okay. I mean, definitely my empire needs military units. So I'll just queue up some more units here real quick. So here's our military units in Griffith. I'm going to go ahead and fortify them, protecting the city. Our military power slowly increases. Let's recruit yet another line battalion. Spearmen, archer, spearmen. This time we're going to deploy these guys in Wallata. These are sort of my border cities. Eventually we'll circle back to fill out these other cities as well. Icaria has grown. I kind of like this shape that it's starting to build, so I'll just grab this tile because it just makes that nice little city shape. Sometimes, you know, sometimes I play this game like I'm tending a garden. I don't think about like the most optimal perfect decision, and that's kind of how I like to play. I like to play it as like I'm tending a garden. Okay, we have grain stores in here now. That's going to be a 15% growth boost. That's perfect. Basically means food situation is taken care of. And what that also means is we can now very easily spend food to buff up how quickly we're making festivals. And we'll slowly transition the rest of our production facilities towards festivals as well. Now, here's a great one. +2 Golden Age progress per turn. That's actually pretty decent. Golden Ages are very important for... What's your rash ability again? Yeah, that extra production during Golden Age actually is sick. So I'm going to grab Cultural Festivals. +2 Golden Age progress per turn is really nice. It means we'll hit a guaranteed Golden Age every 100 turns, which is pretty regularly. So there's Prestige, the Road Pass. We can now build roads in our empire. We have access to the wheel, decorative vases, some new units. We've got stables and carriages. Carriages are great because of their base growth bonus plus their production. So we will want to get carriages, which means we want to get stables and horses and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to pick up weaving before we go to ironworking. Because our science is just so strong, we can take our time to grab every single item in the tech tree. Okay, keep producing spearmen for me. It's the thing that we need the most. Now, in the city of Griffith, trying to think what we need here. Since it is a border city, we could justify getting a watchtower, because what that will do is it'll give +2 strength to any forces that are in the city, but it'll also give 15 city security. And because we're Greece, we'll also get culture from this too. So I'm going to get started with the watchtower. It's a border city, so I like it to be well defended. In addition, we get extra prestige from looking scary, right? Bigger military equal more prestige. So we just entered into our first Golden Age. I'm going to recruit myself another set of units, and the next one is going to get deployed to Delphoi. And so we're going to get 25% more prestige from all sources for 9 turns, which is fantastic. Technically, I think it starts this turn and like you just roll over. These guys are here now. I'm going to fortify them. They will shoot while fortified at adjacent enemy units, which is great for us. But basically, I want to take a very defensive city builder style of play. That's how I like to play. Since you took a big chunk of damage from that tiger, why don't you go heal up before you finish off that tiger? And you can see we're now getting battle reports from our archers plinking away at this tribal unit hanging out at our border. Okay, wonderful. In terms of recruiting another unit, we need just one more spearman. So I'm going to come into Athenai. I'm going to tell Athenai to build me a spearman. You can now grab the grain store. Wonderful. Have we got the improved festival now? Yes, we have. So I'll put that here. Brilliant. And we'll keep using feasts until we run out. So let me come into Icaria. We'll take a look at the hearth, the gathering hall. We'll start producing festivals as well here. We'll move it to the top of the queue. And this time we're just going to put food into it. I'm not going to put gold in. And we're going to stop producing feasts because we're slowly transitioning away from a feast-based amenity economy to festival plus grain store. I also feel safe to do the exact same thing in Wallata. Go ahead and add the festival. We'll just delete the feast. Move the festival to the top. Insert food. Brilliant. So we have a few festivals in storage to sort of tide us over during the transition. Now, Icaria needs a production, and what I would like to do is to get my ceramic shops. So I'll build a ceramic shop, then a stone pit, then a ceramic shop, then a stone pit, and then a ceramic shop. And by alternating between these, I'm going to fully build up a very powerful pottery / concrete production zone. Now, coming into Delphoi, we're going to give this city a grain store so they can continue to grow really effectively. We could build some fishing nets to keep this city growing. I think I would like to start to extract that meteorite a little bit faster, because right now we're producing 1 metal every 13 turns. Whereas if I think we built a stone pit on that, we would actually speed that up significantly. My granary in Icaria is idle. We do have the grain. We're looking good here. So that should be plenty of grain. In fact, we might not even need to use the grain, but we will. just for safety's sake. So there's a whole bunch of new stuff. A lot of it we're going to want to get up and running, but it is a slow and steady march. We're going to go ahead and pick up ironworking. This is going to give us access to a bunch of really important new stuff, like metal tools, metal pots, anvils, an upgrade to our bowmen, barracks, blacksmiths, a better defensive formation, iron, logging camps, strategy codexes. Very exciting stuff. I would like to grab this sheep tile, so we'll grab that. You're idle right now. I think what we'll do is build a watchtower. Again, I like these border cities to be well defended. And then the final unit we're going to deploy into our capital, and it will be a battalion in a line formation with archers and 2 spearmen. Perfect. Our cities are starting to tier up. They're starting to level up. I think it's time that we built our road network. So road between Athenai and Icaria, a road between Athenai and Delphoi. You can build your roads by clicking on a city, basically, and then clicking Manage Roads. And then a road between Athenoi and Griffith, Athenai and Wallata. And then I want to do the frontier connectors, like so. I want to make sure that my cities are connected at cross purposes. So Griffith to Delphoi as well. You look at that. Wonderful. So now we've got a really nice road network in a sort of a big dipper triangle kind of shape that's going to come online over the next 12 turns. It's going to help with our imperial logistics. Okay, so some of the things that we need in this city are actually crafting related. So in Alea here, it would be nice to grab the altar for religion. Plus it gives culture and knowledge. And then beside that altar, it would be nice to get a weaver because that scales off of culture and religion improvements. And that's how we're going to start getting our hands on some rope. Okay, we can lose 2 grain stores to get relationship with Ethiopia. I think that's worth it because we might be able to get a good treaty with them. This unit has been deployed. Let's use it to hunt the polar bear in the capital. And then we'll heal it and fortify it. You are going to hunt the tiger for me. Everything's looking brilliant here. I'm very happy with the situation we're in. So let's talk to Ethiopia. Yeah, we have a friendly relationship with Ethiopia. Hopefully they will they will accept a trade agreement. Agreement declined. That's unfortunate. So decorative vase are really useful because they're a great source of city culture and they can be used as supply in certain houses. I'm going to go ahead and start by building some ceramic pots. I think it'd be good to have 10 of these in storage. I'm going to say we use materials plus sculpting materials, and that will get us an insane amount of these ceramic pots relatively quickly. Then I'm going to say the ceramic vase, I want to use sculpting materials plus wealth. It's probably a good idea for us to have like 10 of these in store. So -5 happiness in your capital for 5 turns, +1 relationship. Let's do it. Again, relationship, like we're slowly getting to the phase where I don't know if those relationships are worth it anymore, but I will keep accepting small penalties for positive relationships. Friendship is worth it. Let's see if this guy's willing to do open borders with us now that he's friendly. Again, we want to play the diplomacy game. Having a strong diplomatic position is really useful. We have built the metal harvestry here, which is great because now we're producing one of these every 4 turns instead of every like 14 or whatever it was. Coming into Delphoi, it would be nice to build our dock as it would provide us with a pretty big city production boost. I kind of like the idea of building the dock right here by this river with this nice territory. So let's pop into Delphoi and we'll build a dock right there. You can only build this once per city, but it is very useful because it gives a +10 production and it also makes your fishing boats better. Coming over to Griffith, we got our defensive building. I want to get this gold pit online, so we'll start building that right now. He declined our open borders agreement, which sucks. Really hoping to get my relationship up. You guys have killed the polar bear. We could upgrade you. I'm going to fortify you for now. And my troops in Athens have been deployed. I'm going to fortify them. So I'm feeling pretty good about our military situation. I think basically you get points based on how you're doing relative to other players, I think. And so right now we're pretty high up, but we're not the top, but we're also there's not that much separation between the top and where we are. There is a big separation between the top and the bottom, which is nice. Okay, perfect. The Kyrene joined Athens, which should hopefully bump up the population here. We're growing. Like now at this point in the game, a tribe joining is like 2 turns of growth, which is nothing. But early in the game, it was big. It was a big advantage. I do actually want to insert gold into this city because I need to finish some of these productions sooner. My lack of pottery is rough. Relationship with the Songhai Empire, that's wonderful. Let's have a look at what's available on the culture screen. +5 culture in all cities is really good. Baseline extra culture, that will get us extra influence. I think I'm going to take that. It's a pretty good one. It's not like the best trait I've ever seen, but it's okay. Now, defensive traditions would have been sick. I don't know if we're going to be able to get it in time, however. Griffith has developed. Let's grab Bundaberg. And hopefully next turn we will be able to add an amenity. Although it might be... We're going to found Greek Hellenism, so we'll get access to the sacred temple. It will require us to build some candles. But we will found this religion. And how strong your religion is based on how many people you convert to it. So having a big empire with a lot of population is really good for your religion. Let's go to the next turn. So we can grab ourselves a religious verse. Happiness in the capital. That's a great one, I feel. Now, in theory, we could change over to theocracy, which would give extra quality of life stats to my entire empire. But I really want to focus on the capital because of the way that Athens or Greece, their abilities kind of key off each other. You know what? Maybe I could use my goal to speed up the production in the capital a little bit. Yeah, if we put an expert in here, we would get a bunch of city security and culture. Not that we need that right now. We'll be able to insert another amenity soon. I think the amenity that I would like is carriages. I'm all about that growth. Health could also be a good one if we wanted to build some apothecaries. Health is really good to pump up growth. It might be better. So there's ironworking. We're into the next act. We have access to strategy codexes, metal tools, and metal tools are going to be important for upgrading certain buildings, as well as they're better than primitive tools. Metal pots are good for city health. We've got anvils. We've got access to bowmen, so we can start upgrading our military units. We want to start building unit squares. We've got access to blacksmiths, which will allow us to produce more metal. Iron, we've actually found iron in our empire, which is awesome. And we got a bunch of new techs. So, we found iron in the capital here, which is excellent. We also found some iron over here. So the next act will begin when 7 players have advanced to the early Middle Ages. Exciting. I think it would be good for us to pick up trading. The trading post is really powerful because it just generates money for you. So I'm going to pick up trading here. Delphoi has generated a claim. Let's keep grabbing chunks of land. I've got an idle city over here, and that's my capital. So I'm trying to remember what I lack. If we look at improvements, you can kind of see we're missing things like furniture. We wouldn't mind metal pots. We would also like to replace this feast with maybe a health item, so it could be good for us to build some apothecaries. Let me have a look at zones. Do I have a good zone for apothecary production? You know what? I think a couple of apothecaries here is the play. I'm going to go double apothecary because even just a herbal remedy would be good. I'm going to use my gold to pump this. So I'm trying to pump gold into my capital to make it even better. Now, Walata would probably like to set up some harvesting here. So I'm going to grab myself a granary for the city health and the region food yield, and then a couple of farms on these resources because the tea leaves very useful for certain things like crafting medicine, and then the grain itself is good for other things. Let's go ahead and fully make the transition in my gathering halls away from feasts. We no longer want to produce feasts. Instead, we want to produce festivals. We're going to be making use of the food in every single city here. We want to make sure you have 20 of them because I think we're starting. Yeah, we've got a few in stock now. And this gathering hall here, let's go ahead and delete that feast. We will stock up on festivals, make sure we're using food for it. Perfect. But we just want to use food. We want to use anything else right now. So yeah, we have 5 cities. We're producing 0.5 per turn, so we should be able to sustain that. I will let all of my feasts get used up before we transition, I think. All right, looking good. Looking great, in fact. So crafter idle here. This is the weaver. We definitely need some baskets. I am curious about what like auto managing does. For sure, I would like to have a supply of baskets. They can be used in houses to get a very small buff to production, but also they can be used as an amenity. I definitely want to have like 10 ropes. I'll make use of timber and materials to speed that up. You know what? I'm going to try out the auto manager. Let's see what they cook up. I'll click on that next turn. All right, we'll heal you up since you're no longer fighting an animal. And I kind of want to come in here. Now, where did I build that weaver? Was this it? Okay. So they're like, we need fabric. Interesting. Not the same sort of priorities I would have made. I would have made the ropes way more important. So let me unmanage this so I can manage it myself. It definitely was an interesting decision. So for sure, we need a few baskets. They're very, very useful. I think 10 is a good number. Certain wonders usually use 10. Similarly, rope, I'm actually going to go with 12. It's good to have slightly more than 10. We'll use timber and materials for this because we don't have any other real resources for that. Then it would be nice to have fabric. Go at 20. Unfortunately, we don't really have the fur or anything, so we'll just have to kind of leave that as is for now until we have more stuff. Then tunics, rugs, and bandages would be good. We'll use materials for the bandages. For the rugs, I'm okay with using fur, actually. Don't really have another use for that. 5 is plenty of stock for that. Tunics, you probably want like more than that. All right, 6. So this guy will get to work on producing this for me. One thing I wish I could do is I wish I could copy I wish I could set this as like the template for my whole empire at the same time, you know? Now that would be nice. Like, hey, maintain these things. So the apothecary, it would like metal tools because it would get better crafting productivity as well as a wheel. We will get around to that. But we want this herbal medicine. The bandage is nice for +10, but the herbal medicine is nice for the +15. We do have access to mandrakes. We will have access to tea leaves. And we will have access to ceramic pots. I think that's worth it to make sure we have enough herbal medicine to supply the city because that extra health is really good for growth. Okay, what have we got an event over here? Use materials for relationship. Yep, that sounds good. Let's quick buy our next apothecary. Part of the reason we build the apothecary is because it has an innate buff to health. This one, we're just going to let it slow craft. That'll be fine. We need to start thinking about what our next step is for this city. It's growing at maximum. It's got maxed out stats. In terms of my empire, I feel like there's a lot of buildings that are demanding like plows and tools and wheels. We're definitely going to need a new dwelling soon, so let me build that. We're almost at our growth capacity, so I'll build a dwelling in the capital here. Another religious verse is available. 10% growth in all cities is really good. Slowly that will add up to being extremely useful and powerful for us. We've got another claim in one of our cities. It's actually Athenai. So I'll just grab Patra here. And the good news is they have another amenity. So I'm going to stick herbal medicine in here so that we can keep that health really high. The ceramic shop over here, why don't you go ahead and auto-manage yourself? I'm kind of curious about that as an option. So the auto-managed ceramic shop is doing its thing pretty okay here. I think, honestly, the auto-manager seems pretty okay. Once you have your economy up and running, if you want to just fire and forget it. I'm going to grab a stone pit here. I want that copper. I've been bribed to go to war with Ghana. I don't want to go to war if I don't have to. If I can avoid war and focus on just building up my economy, I feel like I can get a huge advantage here over the AI. So we have one weaver. We need pots and rope. I'm going to build myself one more weaver. I can lose 100 materials to get relationship with Ghana. That's fine. I'm happy to do that. Seems like a fair trade. Materials aren't that big of a deal for me. We have access to trade now. So we got the road pass. We can build roads if we want to. We already could. We already had the bakery, but now we can build a trading post, which is a great way to generate income. Plus, it also gives city prosperity. City quality of life stats are really good. I'm going to pick up irrigation here. This is going to give us access to the water well as well as the irrigated farm. Very useful. Buildings. Excellent. I gotta say, I'm having a really good time playing Ara. I'm feeling good about this. It's really, really intriguing. And it's quite satisfying to build this sort of lumbering economy. Now, I really want to build the palace, but I'm lacking the rope. Can you just make me an inhuman amount of rope as fast as possible? Please, thank you. So I think this is going to be a commercial zone here. And the reason for that is that there's a building, I think it's called the Inn, that has a really good synergy with commerce building. So I'm going to build a trading post here for the city prosperity, and it'll also generate a little bit of wealth, which is really useful. I'm going to well, you know what? I'll buy aggressively. Okay, 6. So now we have access to the flowers, the flower field. You do need to build a flower field if you want to build the hanging gardens, but things like the water well is great for city health and farm production. We will eventually get those up and running. In fact, in Athenai, I think here is a great candidate for the water well, is if we put the water well here and then we build a couple of farms beside it, because the water well actually provides a bonus to farms and also gives city health, which is great to keep that growth really strong. Let's go ahead and pick up hospitality. That's going to have the inn building, really useful. The trading post, we're just going to get it to make trading goods nice and slow. I'm just going to auto manage this. Do your own thing. Slowly produce these. I don't think they're, oh man, it is a really good amenity. One thing that we need to be careful of is the amount of food that we're using. This will be depleted in 3 turns. Let's go ahead and switch over to the festival. Depleted in 3 turns. Let's switch over to the festival. You're depleting in 3 turns as well. Let's switch you to the festival. So we've got a few festivals going. I think all of my cities are now using the festival. No, except for you. Let's double check. Everyone. Yeah, everyone's on the festival now. So we've made the transition to the festival. I think it would be good if we buffed up the productivity of the festival a little bit, just to make sure we're making slightly more than we're using, so that we know for sure we won't run out. Another one of my cities has generated a claim. Ho here is actually a really good tile because it has 6 spaces in it. Be a good little economic zone. I could lose some happiness but gain religious spread. I always take positive relationship because I want to try to minimize the amount of warfare I have, because warfare ties up your construction queue. Oh, there we go. Flourishing hubs, plus 10% growth in cities with a culture improvement. That's really good. Thriving markets is also really good, but I like the idea of getting extra growth in cities with a culture improvement. So I'm going to go ahead and take that. Not that we have, well, we do have the flower field, but we don't have a lot of culture improvements available right now. So you've got your metalworks, you've got your stuff. What would be good for this city to do? I suppose starting to build up our military yet again, because we want to look really scary from a military perspective so the AI doesn't declare war on us. So in a way, building military is an economic bonus. It might be good for us to build the barracks in here too for the city security, because it is a border city. Logging camps are great for city production too. You know what? Let's get ourselves some logging camps. That'll get us a lot of wood. I think we've more or less defeated all the existing animals near us. I'm just going to go ahead and auto-explore with my scouts now. I don't have any reason to manually control them. We just got our first masterpiece, and it is a masterpiece of writing, which is wonderful. I can't remember how much they're worth. Let me check. Yeah, they're worth 25 base, I believe. So Delphi has finished what its production queue was, which I believe was the dock. Now, the interesting thing about the dock is I think if you assign someone to it, you can get a nice production boost. So I will assign a specialist to the dock to get that little bit of a production boost. We're definitely missing furniture and rugs and all this sort of stuff. So there's a few different things I could do here. I suppose I could build the altar over here, because that would give a little bit of city stats, and I do like that idea. So let's grab the altar. You got your granary. Let's put a rope into this granary. We'll go ahead and just slow build a grain store. Nice to have a lot of them. Icaria is now idle, and it would be nice to build up an economic production zone. So I think Thera here is going to be the economic production zone. Let's grab the trading post. It'll get us a little bit of income. I'm going to let you auto-manage yourself. Yeah, I think the auto-manager actually does a really great job, so I'm pretty chill with it. All right, we generated a claim over here. We don't really have any good food locations. We would like to grab that iron because we love iron. Let's give this city the grain store. We need the food and the growth. A little bit of a health issue in here, but we'll fix that when we can. Looks like we ran into Byzantium. Nice to meet you, Byzantium. And we have hospitality now, so we can build our inn. And the power of the inn is that it gives prosperity, but it also scales off of adjacent commerce buildings, which is very useful. All right, we're going to research textiles. Nice and easy. Where do we stand? Out of curiosity? Yeah, we're currently 7th, but again, the separation isn't too big between us and the big dogs. Another city tier has increased. These could be good locations to build triumphs, so I will grab them. Speaking of triumphs, what is happening to my ceramic pots? I think they're getting used in a building somewhere. Let me have a look. Is one of my granaries using them? I can't tell. Crafting. It's being used somewhere, but I don't remember where. Oh no. Here it is. Do not use that. Perfect. Okay, so we should be able to store up some pots now. I'm happy to spend a spearman for relationship with tribes. I think it is worth it still. Looks like there's some sort of battle going on over here. And again, by looking big and mean and scary, nobody wants to declare war on me because I have a big, strong defensive military. Icaria is idle now. Finally, we're getting the ceramic pot increase. Your third amenity could be herbal medicine. Would really help you grow a little. So coming in here, it would be nice to build the inn and then dwellings on this location, because remember, dwellings have a really, really useful ability, which is that they can take supplies, and these supplies can boost your city stats. So for example, candles improve your knowledge, soap improves your health, decorative paintings improves happiness, metal pots increase health. So lots of really useful things in here. Now, you are going to be auto-managed, please. We got another golden age, which means even more production pumping. Atheni is ready. We've got plenty of gold cranking through the veins of my empire. You are going to get another amenity in about 48 turns. We are maxed out on growth thanks to health. We would love to build the palace. We don't have the pots for it yet. I think I would like to build some more ceramic workshops. They're going to produce a lot of really useful materials over the course of the game. No, you know what I need actually? I've changed my mind. What I actually need is a stable. A stable. I would also like to build the inn. And you know what else? I'm going to grab myself a couple of workshops. And I'm actually going to prioritize those. We've been delaying our workshops for so long. It's actually crazy that we don't have any yet. The workshop is like the most versatile production building in the entire game. So there's textiles. We can now build looms, which boost productivity, weavers and tailors. We've also got access to garments, which is a great consumable. It gives health, happiness, and prosperity. And more importantly, we're now ready to go to navigation, which will bring us into the final act, or the final chapter of the Antiquities. So let's go. We got a new religious verse. None of these are very good. I would love a reroll ability, but I mean, Monument to Eternity isn't good. I think if I had to pick one, the Merchants is probably the best. That's just going off on vibes, but I didn't feel like any of those were good choices, is how it felt. All right, what's going on with you? You have an empty amenity slot. Okay, that means we want the grain store. Get your growth up. So we're currently making use of, in terms of paragons, we're getting research and wealth. See, military, like Kowloon giving us military production for military improvements works pretty well with our, the fact that we're Alexander, we actually get extra culture from military improvements. So those things synergize together in a nice way, in a way that I really like. Okay, coming into the workshop. So there's a few things that I consider to be sort of critical. We're missing wheels. So we definitely want as many wheels as we can get. It'd be nice to go straight to metal tools. See, metal ingots. We could use materials. We don't have that many spare materials. So I will use metal ingots plus timber plus, well, I can't really afford anything else. But yeah, it'd be nice to have 10 of those. Then it would be nice to have some plows. Now, if we're going to do plows, it's probably a good idea to build lithic tools, because I think lithic tools cost 200 and they boost by 200. So they're relatively cheap. A cheap way to boost it, using copper. But we'll work our way through this production queue. Okay. Delphoi is idle. It built the altar. Could be good for us to build a weaver in this city. It would get a craft production bonus for being next to a religion improvement, which in of itself is a nice advantage. Let's do it. I'm being bribed. I don't like being bribed to go to war. It's not my vibes. Looks like we ran into Julius Caesar. Well met. He's pretty neutral about us. This workshop, I'm just going to auto-manage. I'm going to let it do its own thing. It'll hopefully make reasonable decisions. Speaking of which, let's do an audit. So what are you doing? So you've decided that lithic tools is the play. An interesting decision. Let's see how that turns out for you. I'm surprised, though, that you're not electing to use, like, material boosts. So it's not worth it to use lithic tools for these, but it is worth it to use timber. We have plenty of timber, so we should be using timber everywhere it's available. Like, it's crazy you're not using timber for some of these boosts. These are very easy to achieve materials for our empire. I don't even know if it's going to undo all this. All right, so there's navigation. We now have access to the longship, the assault octaries. We have access to the lighthouse, which is a great building because it gives you merchants. The great lighthouse is also giving you merchants too. Silk, saffron, and vanilla beans, plus a bunch of other stuff that we already had unlocked. Wonderful. Let's open with philosophy, because that's worth 100 prestige. We generated a claim up here in Delphoi. Let's keep on just expanding in a nice radial way. Icaria is idle. So coming into Heraclea, I'm going to build a water well. Plus, this zone is great for farming. So I'll start laying down a few farms here. Okay, so in terms of gourmet meals, putting 50 food into the gourmet meal basically gets you the meal back. I'm just going to slow craft it for now because it's better to input other materials. Plus, I don't want to use food right now. I guess it could be good. The gourmet meal is a great. The fact that it has health, happiness, growth, and food on it is good. I guess it pays for itself if you're using it. Walata has generated a claim. I would like my cities to link up. So I'm going to go for Kumbungu so we can create a sort of solid border here. Now, I forget what you were doing. You built a weaver. I'm just going to put that on auto manage. Let's build a second weaver just for the sake of it. You do have access to a new thing. We could give you trade goods. The herbal medicine might be better. Yeah, we'll give you herbal medicine so you can grow because right now you're taking a penalty. Let's get the sheep farm up. It's a good way to improve the amount of wool / sheep we're getting. Sheep can be used to craft cured meats, whereas the wool can be used for a whole bunch of things. For sure, we're going to auto-craft this. I'm curious, did the auto-crafter change all my decisions? It did. That's so strange. I thought I made pretty good decisions. I think it is better to manually craft, but like, ain't nobody got time for that, bro. I don't think it's worth it to use rope here. It's 2 rope for 50 production, but ropes cost 200. Yeah, I'm not going to use the auto manager. It's way better to use timber. You crazy. Timber and materials for this. Those are relatively easy to get your hands on. All right, the map is starting to reveal itself beautifully, thanks to our scouts. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I don't like any of these abilities, so we'll just chill from the culture point of view. Plus 10 happiness in all cities is really good. I'll take that one. Happiness is production. Production is more of everything. Oh man, I've fallen down the standings here a little bit. I'm falling off. Let's upgrade you to a swordsman, upgrade you to bowmans. We'll upgrade our units. I think that's a great way for us to get more power on the field. Definitely make our military power look better. Okay, Athenai has generated a claim. The dyes would be quite useful to get our hands on, actually. So let's grab those dyes. Feasts have ran out, so I'm going to add gourmet meals. Again, that city growth is really useful. And then I suppose on a temporary basis, we'll add the baskets because it's worth a bit of production. Can we build our palace yet? Dude, how do we not have the pots for this? That's wild. Yeah, I think I'm going to turn off the self-manager because I don't like the decisions it makes so that I can do this myself. All right, so claim generated. I'll grab Yapuno there and Athenai. You are ready for more. It would be nice to have more mandrake. So I'll build a farm on the mandrake, a farm on the pig, and we'll come back to the city once it's done doing that. Delphoi. Yeah, the city combat strength is falling a little bit here. What might be good for us to build a barracks for the 15th security and a watchtower. So make like a little military district here. And then I do think that the blacksmith actually as a building scales off of military improvements. So there would be 3 here. So it would get a 150% craft production boost for metal. And metal will be very useful for us. So we're kind of building up like a little military section here. Griffith definitely wants to get that stone pit online, even if it is hurting the city growth. Might be better for me to do herbal medicine in here from a growth perspective because of the growth penalties it's taking. So I'm going to try that out over the festival. I'll put food into the gourmet meal thing. I think our empire is actually looking really solid. We're missing a few crucial things like furniture or candles, etc. But we will get to those things. We will make them. I'm going to buy a claim for Athens. I want to make Athens like a big giga city. That is the plan. So Wallata over here. Oh, we can build a palace. Yes, finally. Okay, I'm going to build a palace in my capital. Put it to the top of the queue. I'll even spend money to finish it faster. We've been waiting that long for it. You should build your water well. We want that health and farming buffs. We're burning money a little bit faster than I would like. Extra build production towards military improvements is lovely. It fits in with our general plans. We're a little light on cash. That'll be okay. So one of the ways that we can get cash is by building dwellings because the inn will scale off that. But maybe it would be better if we did something else for cash. Like logging camps? They produce cash. Sorry, not logging camps, hunting camps. Yeah, let's build some hunting camps out by the inn because they produce, I believe it's scaled based on the gold of the region, right? I think so. Okay, perfect. We built the palace, so we got a nice injection of prestige bumping us up back into the remarkable tier. I don't have flowers to give you, but you do give me the apothecary, which is kind of interesting, even though I already have it. Okay, nation rankings are available. That's fine. Is there a way for me to tell what age other people are in? All right, let's go to the next turn. Yeah, we're slow. We're running out of gold, but that's okay. We will improve our gold situation soon. Okay, perfect. I do wish the game would tell you what you were working on. I think it was the palace. We're no longer at our city cap. Let's grab a settler. Definitely want to be building fermentation pits at some point, just not right now. You're good on most stats. So what do we need? Well, we have a lot of wood coming in thanks to the timber. Really, we definitely need more workshops. We could use more materials, but I don't want to build too many of these because of the city health issues that they propose. It would be nice to build a trading post and an inn over here because of their extra wealth generation. Looks like we ran into the Netherlands or the Cree. We have access to the Temple of the Bell. We can also build a city temple. which can actually craft scrolls. We also have access to schools that give knowledge, and they scale off science and military. We also have access to Republic as a government type. Let's have a look at Republic, actually. I think I prefer the Palace bonus here. In terms of researches, now that we're into the antiquities and we have philosophy, I wouldn't mind building the monument. So let's grab that monument. So currently you have a specialist in the hearth. Craft production. If you put it at the well, you get 5 health. It's extra gold, extra craft production, a little bit of prosperity from weavers. I don't think we have the best locations for specialists. I think plus 5 health is good. I might put it in here because it's an extra 15 culture, so that would really help us out with our influence situation. We crafted another masterpiece, another beautiful masterpiece of writing. Thank you very much. Dude, I hate this settlement so much. What is he doing? What is he doing? What is he settling there? Oh, it's a crazy settle. I'll spend the timber for the relationship and the prestige. Excellent. I'm looking forward to my units getting upgraded. We're chilling. We're mostly just waiting for turns to we're waiting for things to finish. We got a lot of stuff underway. The big thing is going to be this set. Dude, what are you doing? You're crazy. I don't have the metal ingots for this, so this will upset Byzantium. That's fine. I don't mind upsetting the AI at this point now that we have all of our defenses up. Our units just completed, so our military power will start upgrading. I can't believe they just did that to me. So it would be nice to build the school. We could build Stonehenge. I think if I was going to build it, I would build it in here, because this has the location. So the Temple of Bel gives religion spread strength, prestige, and security, whereas Stonehenge gives city knowledge and culture. If I was going to build Stonehenge, I would build it in my capital, so I'll build a Temple of Bel here. Let's move it up the queue. I think a good play here might be to switch this herbal medicine for the baskets, because that will shave 8 turns off of the Temple of Bel. Perfect. Athens is no longer busy. I think I would like to buy a claim to build the Stonehenge. This settler, I'm going to send it up here to build like a little coastal encampment. We can make use of all these resources around this area. Yeah, and eventually we might need to clear out the city center. Let's go ahead and acquire those natural dyes using an irrigated farm. Yes, we can build the irrigated version of farms. So irrigated farms are basically twice as efficient, pound for pound, compared to a normal farm. So boom, irrigated farms. Looks like we ran into, I think this is the Aztec Empire. Nice to meet you. And beautiful, there's Belgium. Pleasure. Okay, you need to fortify now. And you fortify. Yeah, all my units are kind of asking for new orders now that they've been completed. Military power is up to +6 per turn. I would like to pump that even higher, but we're just a little bit... Ugh, I hate you. I hate you so much. Ooh, military grandeur is insane, dude. It basically means +10 culture if I'm at my force cap. But I am going to purchase a claim for the capital so we can buy a tile. Delphoi has leveled up, which is great. It has really good security. Remember, having high security is good for our Golden Age triggers. And when we trigger Golden Ages, we get production and prestige. It's wonderful. We met another nation. Well met. Let me think, that was Argentina. I can send them fabrics. I have a few fabrics, so I don't mind sending them that. Okay, my apothecaries are idle, so I'm going to add candles to their crafting queue. No, I'm not going to use any accelerators. I'm just going to craft candles because of the small amount of knowledge they're worth. I don't even have tallow or food oil that I could really even use. And then I think I'll add bandages because bandages can be used, but they're not particularly important. I wish I could clone. That is definitely something I wish I could do. I wish I could like group these buildings and like tell them I want you all to do this. I think it is worth it to use fabric when making or to use materials when making bandages. Keep you guys nice and busy. Okay, Orana is idle. Wow, he just settled a new city there right on top of us. That's cray. Let's give you a festival. We definitely want to craft more festivals, then craft jewelry. Don't think we have much use for anything else that's produced here. Jewelry is nice because it gives happiness. So if you ever end up with a good slot open, you can slap a jewelry in there. Go ahead and start by building a dwelling. Lovely. So we have access to the monument. The monument is fantastic because it gives you happiness and culture, but also +1 prestige per turn if it's built in your city center, as well as a bonus of 25 prestige when you first build it. So we do want to build the monument in Atheni. So I'm going to add the monument there. Do we have any low quality tiles near the city? I will build, yeah, here, Stonehenge can go over here on Selinus. It's a three space tile because wonders take up the entire tile. It would be good for us to maybe unlock concrete to start producing it. Gears are also a useful one. There's a lot of really useful things coming up here. I'm going to grab milling. Wallata has generated a claim. Let's isolate this city by grabbing Pyera. Now our cities will be connected. Isolating this city. I don't think it's worth it to really go hard on the production of trade goods. I think we just leave you the way you are. Okay, sick. Another religious verse. Merchants. Build production towards religion is good. It means we'll build our religious improvements faster. We're working on the monument. And so what we want to do here is to build the Stonehenge. Stonehenge is worth 300 prestige plus knowledge and culture. And we want to build it on, because it takes up a whole tile, you want to build it on a tile that has as few spaces as possible for stuff. So we'll put you up there, Stonehenge. We want that for that nice triumph ability. Dude, Athens is such a strong city. It's actually insane how fast it's growing. It is consuming an insane amount of food and quality of life stats though. I mean, our goal here was to build a coastal kind of city. So I'll grab the Adriatic Sea. Wallata's production is really weak. I'm going to give it some baskets just to bump that up a little bit so that we can get to work on some stuff. One thing that would feel good would be as if we got a school plus a bunch of military buildings. We're kind of lacking in certain respects with regards to materials. Also, our income isn't the strongest, which is concerning, which makes me want to build trading posts and inns because the combination of those two things is quite good for your prosperity. So let me tell you what, Ho over here will become a nice trading zone. So we'll grab the trading post plus the inn here, hopefully getting our wealth up. Another golden age. Dude, we are rocking golden ages. And remember, we're rash, so we get extra production from golden ages, which is crazy. Super strong. I want to double check this. What's going on here? Oh, you have a spare amenity slot. I think it's time to start using carriages. Yes, you lose a little bit of city health, but that 10% city production and the 100% growth, or the 100 base growth is really strong. We also don't have like alternatives that I feel are completely necessary. So I would like that production boost. And the flat growth is nice too. Even if, you know, city growth is really high as it currently stands, production is always fantastic. Because the thing you got to remember about how the production works in this game is this number propagates to every improvement you've built in your city. Like, right, if I come over here to this weaver, it's making 62 production because that's what my city makes. And then it gets extra production from certain bonuses. So fabric costs 200 to build, but it gives 250 production towards tunics. I'll also take leather if we have it. Bandages, it's not worth it to use fabric in my opinion for bandages. Materials, it is. Baskets, it is good to use materials and timber in my opinion, but otherwise it's not worth it to use rope because rope I believe costs 250 production. It's not worth the translation. Now, rug and carpet, again, fabric costs 200 to make. So here, fabric is actually super productive. Now, leather would be better, but we don't have a renewable source of leather or fur. So I'm going to go with the fabric here. It's good to have like 10 of those. And then on the garments front, let me move tunics down the production queue here to be in line with garments, because we can use tunics to make garments, and tunics cost 300 production, but they provide 400 towards garments. We would like to use belts as well, but we'll just do it this way. So we make tunics and they get turned into garments, and that's how like the production queue works. And we put fabric nice and high here. Beautiful. So I really wish I could copy paste that production queue onto all of my weavers. That would be like a huge buff to my gameplay style. It's like if I could just set one doctrine, I guess, for lack of a better word, for my whole empire. Oh, we are actually producing wool. So we could use wool for fabric. Let's make sure we do that. Then tunics need to be turned into garments using fabric and leather. We don't make silk, that's okay. So we produce the fabric for 200 production. The fabric gets turned into 250 production towards the tunics. And then the tunics, which cost 300 production, get turned into 400 production. So this production chain is efficient and productive. That's the kind of thing you like to see. Let's check this other weaver. Now you're being auto-managed, which I actually don't like. So where are you? You're in Delphi. I don't like the auto manager. Let me turn this off. So in terms of rugs and carpets, I'm going to use this and this. Let me just delete some of these. So fabric, we will use wool, and that's it. Perfect. And then when you finish these, I suppose then it's okay to go tunics and then garments. Yeah. Love it. I love these sort of production chains. It makes me really satisfied. I just wish that I could copy paste the doctrines or whatever. Okay, all my cities are pretty happy. I can't get a new trait. I don't have any new paragons. My religion is fine. I think we're just chooching, man. We're just like chooching along, having a good old time. Okay, I could spend 2 dice to get relationship. Relationship is still worth it, I think. They might move into some of my smaller cities, giving me a nice boost. All my resources are looking good. We've almost got Stonehenge. Oh, sick, we did. We got it. Boom, there's Stonehenge. So that's going to be a nice buff to our prestige, putting us up higher on the list, which is great. In terms of standings, we are now 7th again. So we're starting to close that gap once again. City Idol, Orana. Yes, we would like to build your fishing nets. Let's go to the next turn. Okay, sick. So there's milling. We have access to preserved food, paper, mills. Mills are really good for boosting farms and crafting. Paper is used to craft a whole bunch of things. I believe it's made at mills. Mills are basically the upgrade to granaries, but they don't give you health. Preserved food is crafted at the grocer and the bakery. Great for food, for supplying a low food city. There's the Temple of Baal. That's going to be another injection of prestige into our build. So where are we standing now? I believe we are 4th. So we're starting to break into the top here. We could go to the next era, but I think I would like to pick up something like the Mint. The Mint is pretty cool. It'll allow us to start printing coins. Ikaria has generated a claim. I'm going to grab Wenchi because I'm trying to isolate Delos from the rest of their empire to make them regret having settled there. Extra growth in our capital for every city you control is fine. I think I would rather go for minute scrutiny. That little bit of a trickle of science is really useful as we transition into the later phases of the game. Just go ahead and build me some trade goods. I don't think it's worth it to put any. It could be worth it to put fabric in here. I don't think it is. I think baskets are worth it to put into trade goods. Like, it makes them very good to produce. But because I think baskets are relatively cheap to produce if we check out you here. Yeah, no, they're 350. They're actually quite expensive, but still, I think that's worth it. Make sure we have those trade goods. Ikaria has room for another good. The gourmet meal would be really nice. It's happiness, it's health, it's growth, it's food. Let's take it. The happiness is really key there. And you can put specialists into the Temple of Bel to get extra religion spread distance. Let's have a look. Ikaria, you're growing. Wenchi. We're still building farms and stuff. I don't need to add any production here. Delphoi, on the other hand, does need production. It just built its blacksmith. I don't think I can afford to put copper in here. I can't afford to put iron. You know what? I'll put the copper in anyway. And then the only other crafting accelerator we might consider is probably not worth it. I'm going to say just craft infinite amounts of these metal ingots. I think it's important that we get enough of those. Metal ingots are key. Okay, thinking about what we want to do in this city. It's lacking prosperity and it's lacking knowledge. Could build the temple. It would give culture. I do like culture. The mill would be great for starting to produce paper and soap in the next age. Soap is used in housing as a accelerator or as a supply that gives health. Man, I still can't believe I have no furniture. You know what? I think we got to set up more crafting here. So let me get into Delphoi. I'm going to build myself a mill and then probably some crafting workshops. You know what I'm going to go for? I'm going to go for a tannery. I'm going to go for a mixed bag here. I'm going to go for a workshop. I'll build the workshop first because the workshop actually provides a production boost to building stuff in the area. Yeah, so we'll go with the tannery plus the workshop for now. Looking like our cities are very happy. They're chilling. We're making our way. Athenai is idle. Now, one option we do have is in Patra, we could lay down a bunch of bakeries because they get extra food from commerce improvements, which would be really nice. We would scale this pretty nicely right here. So I think that's probably what we're going to do. There's some nice things that bakers can produce. Although then again, it's another one of these times where maybe what I really need are just more workshops. But I'm also running low on materials. So I think it could be good for us to build some stone pits. I'll start off with just one for now. In Griffith, we got our trade goods. We also have our inn. Oh, we could add grain stores. It uses a lot of them though. I'd rather use food as my accelerant. You definitely have health problems in here, and we don't really have good solutions for that. I think what'll help here is if I build a dock. Cost us a little bit of money, but we'll give production. And I'll put a specialist into the trading post for the extra 5 gold per turn. Okay, religious verse is available. Getting extra gold from commerce improvements is really great. I'm going to go ahead and pick that. It's going to help out our economy. We can get another cultural trait here. I think this is just literally like plus 10 golden age points, which I don't think is worth it. Yeah, I don't think any of these are worth it. I'm just going to grab a claim. We can make use of the claim. And I'm going to actually use this claim in Griffith next turn to isolate Delos. So Athenai is ready. We are missing a dock in here. So I think we will build the docks. And I'm happy with that. Let's keep going. Oh yeah, Griffith, let's use your claim in order to isolate here. We'll grab Magnesia. And you grab the claim. We're going to grab Karatha, which will fully isolate Belos from any possible stuff. So we've isolated Belos and Kyrene, so we could move in and destroy those cities whenever we feel like. Really what we're hoping for is that the owners of those cities become irrelevant. The city tier increased, craft or idle. Let's double check if we need any new. Okay, Athenai has, yes. I mean, the city stats are just so high that we don't really need anything. I suppose trade goods are a strong one, but yeah, the city stats are just crazy, dude. Like the amount of science, production, everything that Athens is making is mind-blowing. So we've got access to coinage now, so we can produce coins which provide prosperity. They can also be used for a bunch of different stuff. We've got scrolls and we've got access to the mint. The mint is nice for the prosperity. Let's go ahead and research scholarship. We generated a claim up in Griffith. Let's grab Saleh so to make the city a little bit rounder so it feels nicer. Athens built its dock as was planned. Okay, we're finally starting to get rugs and candles and stuff like that. Question is, would I rather have extra base production or extra culture? I think the production is really good. Indoor stove, decorative paintings, and soap. Yeah, we'll eventually get around to that. So we built a stone pit and it's producing 9 materials per turn. That's the power of the old stone pit, helping fuel our economy. I would like to build a fermenting zone, and maybe the thing is you want to build your fermenting pits together, maybe with my apothecaries, because they're extremely useful for building accelerators. I could build my lighthouse over here. That would be nice for the extra merchant. The science from schools is obviously really good. Let me have a look at my improvements here. Yeah, we're missing beer, wine, computer, books. My farms need fertilizer, power, fuel, and tractors. We are producing some of this stuff. We're not making fertilizer right now. We're not making looms. Gears are going to be one of the big upgrades for us, I think. Yeah, let me go into my workshops. There we go. Oh, I have an idle workshop. What the hell? For sure, we want furniture. We want it to be crafted with timber and fabric. Make sure we have 10 of those. Once you have the furniture, I think it's a great idea to make sure we have the plow. Unfortunately, we can't really use accelerators on the plow. I guess wealth isn't a bad accelerator for the plow. Materials plus lithic tools, and then we'll actually craft the lithic tools to put into that using timber, materials, and copper ideally, but we don't have that much copper. I think 10 is a good number for these. All right, so we're going to start getting furniture. I do want to set policies for this. So for the first slot, I want you to go metal tools, then lithic tools. I want you to go gears and then ropes. So prioritize getting gears into these places. So these guys will now seek out metal tools because metal tools have a slightly better harvest production boost. You'd see here 50% craft, 100% harvest versus 25% craft, 50% harvest. So that will slightly improve the efficiency of this part of my economy. On the weaver side of things, make sure you guys have wheels, the sewing machine, and then the loom. We also want gears in here. In the water wells, we're not worried about that. You don't produce You don't produce either. For my stone pits, I definitely want metal tools over lithic tools. And I definitely want gears as soon as we can get them. Logging camp policy, similar. We want to make sure that we're maintaining high productivity in these locations. For my irrigated farms, definitely I want the heavy plow over the regular plow. We definitely want fertilizer. Power gives harvest production. These ones are interchangeable. And we definitely want tractors. Do I want to set a policy here? What's more important to me? It's craft production, craft production, craft production, craft production. I feel like the industrial tools give a lot of production. That's crazy. I think we definitely want the industrial tools. They give 100% craft production plus 0.5 city production. Then the gear gives 100% craft production. 50%, 50%, 50%. We'll go with rope because it's cheap. And then finally lithic tools. So this will be the progression. Lithic tools into rope, into gears, into industrial tools. You could probably go with metal tools. Metal tools and gears are interchangeable. In terms of this supply, I do like the craft production. Let's see, we can go with beer, brewed coffee, or wine. We'll just kind of leave that. We'll leave that open, but the production one I definitely want to make sure. Yeah, you definitely want to have your wheels. See, 50%, 100%, and 150%. So that's a pretty easy progression there for you to follow. Go pots, barrel, plastic container. Same with the gear and the rope and the power. Fishing nets, farms. We definitely want to set regular farm policy, which is going to be heavy plow, fertilizer. These are interchangeable. And then tractors. On the dwelling side of things, I think we want to prioritize production. So I'm going to say I want my cities to have furniture over rugs and carpets. And similarly, I want them to have baskets over these. But this would be the progression for me. The baskets are better. Eventually, we might drop this down. We definitely want the indoor stove. We want the candle. We want decorative paintings, and we want soap. But yeah, I would like to be production focused. Docks don't need anything. You need metal tools and lithic tools. Just setting the general policies for my empire here. In terms of my blacksmiths, definitely you're going to want industrial tools and anvils. My apothecaries, we've already done those. I think we've done all of our production buildings now. So we just cleaned up our policy a little bit so that as tools and accelerators and supply gets produced, it will get distributed to the correct buildings. Now, I could build the Nemrut Dag, but this gives city cap, and I really don't want more cities. I actually want to keep my city count, well, not exactly low, but I just don't want to balloon it for little to no reason. You know, where this Mandrake farm is, I am going to build my school, and in the school zone, I'm going to put a watchtower and a barracks because that'll get me a little bit of extra science here. It's a small amount, but it is something. And we're meeting all the nations. There's the Mongol Empire. Genghis Khan looking a bit like Guy Fieri. I forgot that Genghis Khan looks like Guy Fieri in this game, dude. Oh my God. You love it. All right, Walata, what are you doing? What the hell did I build in here? I think I built some production stuff. I would like to get the quality of life stats up in this city. So the city temple would help with knowledge and culture. What we might do is we might build a city temple plus an altar, maybe not in that order, and then a couple of weavers to go with them, because these weavers will get 100% base production boost from being next to the altar and temple, which is just a nice little configuration there. Weavers being very, very useful. We'll spend some food to make these gourmet meals. Probably good for us to have like 20 of them. No, 13 seems like a good number. Yeah, relationship with the tribe. Yeah. Oh wow, look at all that exploration that's been done. This is a big ass map. Holy crap. Delos is being burnt, it seems, by the Byzantine Empire, which I'm super down with. Griffith. Oh, you've got a slot available. The biggest thing for you is we need health. So I think I'm just going to give you herbal medicine again. We need you to get that growth going. I'll build a lighthouse in here for the trade and prestige of it. Where are we in the standings? We got to be in the good place, right? This isn't the bad place. Ooh, Paragon available. I think I'm going to grab myself a prophet because they have more diverse masterwork proficiencies. I don't need a cultural advisor right now, so I'm going to go ahead and start creating a masterpiece. And I will put him to work at an altar, getting us that nice prestige. Relationship bonus with Mexico, I always go for the I always just go for the friendly option. It's the kind of player that I am. I don't necessarily know if that's like the good choice, but it's what I do. Okay, 6. There's scholarship. We have access to books, libraries, the Library of Celsius. We also have access to the Legion and the Diamond. We should probably think about upgrading our military. We are starting to fall off a little bit in military power. I'm going to pick up the final technology of the age, engineering. It's going to give us concrete, gears, glass, mining picks, all sorts of insanely useful things. Got some masterpieces. Lovely. We got the Epic of Gilgamesh. And we could pop down here into Orana. So we are cranking out precious stones. We don't have a use for salt right now, so that's fine. We're also cranking out some boat food. What do you need? You know what you need? You need a military. Build me a watchtower. Help you defend yourself. Okay, we got an idol crafter over here. We built the school. Oh, you can just stuff books in here. Yeah, make me some books. You do like to use paper, which we don't have just yet. You also like to use leather, which we can get. And you like dyes. Make sure we have 10 of those. Focus on book production, please. Good, sir. Looks like the city is being either sieged or burnt down. I can't tell which. Oh, it looks like it was captured. Hopefully they burn it down. Delphi, or as I like to call it, Delboy, is ready to expand. Let's go for Mycenae. Should probably go towards that copper. It's fine. Yeah, I don't really want city cap. And the quality of life in my capital is already so high that I don't think I need that. I'm like, we're maxed out on city cap stats, which is crazy good. We can produce scrolls slowly in here. I don't think it's worth it to use accelerators, so we're just going to slow roll the scroll. I definitely feel like there's way too many amenities and not enough amenity slots in my cities. Like I have so many slots, or rather, I have so many options to put into these slots, so I have to be very choosy. So we built up a little bit of a science zone in here. I definitely feel like metal tools are going to become increasingly a problem for us. So I'm going to build a couple, well, I really want to build the breweries. Yeah, I'm going to build my breweries. They will get upgraded soon. So let's get these fermenting pits up. Those fermenting pits will help us make some pretty useful late game stuff. We could also start improving our farms. It's expensive and time consuming, but it can be worth it. I don't think we need to do that just yet. I think we're cool. +5 harvest production in all cities is actually pretty decent. +5 health in all cities is really good too. I'm going to go with the health. Harvest production would apply to basically resource extraction. 100 wealth for 30 relationship is fine. We will do it. Okay, so Orana is idle. I forget what I built in here, but it was... Oh yeah, it was this watchtower. In Karatha, it'd be nice to build something. I could build a religious zone again. It's nice for bumping up the culture of the city, and then I can also plug a couple weavers in there to make some basic goods. I think that's worth it. Yeah, let's just start claiming tiles. So we've got an idol crafter. Our first fermenting pit is done. We definitely want to be crafting syrup. I'm very happy to use grain for this. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave that as is. I'd say 20 syrup is a good number. We'll add some wine. Wine likes grain or grapes. That's fine. We'll leave that the way it is. In terms of events, we can get some... Yeah, we'll do that trade. That's fine. Okay, so we now have access to concrete, which is going to be used to build more advanced buildings. We have gears, which are going to be massively improving our craft and harvest production. We have access to glass, which is used to construct and craft a bunch of stuff. Mining picks is going to give us a lot of harvest production in our mines. Hourglasses, again, great for an amenity, giving prosperity and knowledge. We have new pikemen, we have barrels. Lots of new things have become available to us. We've also unlocked silicates from some existing resources. But most importantly, we are on the verge of entering the next era. But rather than doing that in this video, I'll be doing that in the next video. If I get a chance to come back to Ara, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do remember, the game is on sale. This was the free 2.0 update sponsored by Stardock and Oxide Games. I want to thank you guys very much for watching. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!